game reserves in South Africa. It's a really beautiful morning. A bit cool and overcast, but could be really good for us for cats this morning. My name's Hayden Turner. Some people call me HT, so if you hear Pete refer to me as HT, that's who he's talking about. Pete's going to be out somewhere around here this morning, and we're going to go across to him as well. But if you haven't been with us before, this is a live safari coming to you from South Africa, and we're going to go out and see what we can find this morning. We found some really beautiful leopard tracks last night, and we just could not find him on this area. We think it was the quarantine male. But for newcomers, welcome. For regular viewers that have been with us for a while, welcome back. We saw some great stuff yesterday, and really beautiful elephant encounters and some lovely antelope, but we're really after that leopard this morning. So we're just going to have a little sort of scratch around here, the area where we saw the tracks, and see what we can find. It's a little bit overcast, but that can be a good thing for us, and we may as well get on our way. So welcome aboard. A lot of impala in this area. This area here is known as Quarantine on Karula Game Reserve, and it's a grassy sort of open area, and a lot of the prey or hoofed animals will spend time here during the night. It's a safe area where they can see or hear or smell a predator coming, and they have a tendency to congregate here during the night. Herds of impala, herds of wildebeest we saw here last night. So we'll just take a little drive down here. It's a little bit windy this morning, folks, so please excuse if the wind's blowing hard on our mics. Brian's with me on camera this morning, and he's my other set of eyes, so he's a little bit more elevated than where I'm sitting, so it's always great to have another set of eyes. And on any safari drive, everyone on board helps with spotting. The more sets of eyes that you've got on the vehicle, the better. So as I'm driving along here, we'll try and look to see whether any of the tracks of this leopard cross the road, and that's what the roads are fantastic for as well. You can see whether an animal is crossed. It's basically like the bush newspaper. So if you see me put my head out like this to the side, it'll be because I'm looking at tracks, and if I see some really nice ones, I'll definitely show you. If they're a bit older, we might drive past, but we'll definitely come across some today that we can have a look at. Got a wildebeest down here. Leopard would probably be unlikely to take him on, but there's a little herd just down there a ways a bit as well to the left, and the leopard wouldn't probably take those on either. Might take a calf, but a little bit big maybe for our leopard. And the leopard that I'm looking for is also about 20 months old, so he's not far from full size, and he would be unlikely to go for an animal that big. So he probably would have been after an impala last night if he was lucky. And I'm just looking for these tracks. When the wind is like it is, a lot of the hoofed animals, or the animals that would be a potential meal for the predators, they're a little bit more edgy. They have a tendency to be a little bit more skittish in the wind because scent is swirling around, and they just get a little bit edgy on a breeze like this. They're very comical characters, the wildebeest. We'll definitely come back to the wildebeest, and I'm not passing them over too quickly. I want to stop and have a chat about them, but I do want to have a look for any of these leopard tracks if I can. Now I'm just reversing back because I want to go around the other side of this little area and see if we can find those tracks. So you use your I suppose sense of powers of elimination, I suppose. We drove around here last night when we left you, and there's been not many vehicles along here this morning. If we were to see leopard track on this road, we would know it was after we were here or quite fresh. So it's a really nice little indicator of how the leopard may have moved through here last night. I'm going to head down to the other side and see, because I did think I saw some tracks here this morning. I just want to see in this area down here if there was leopard. It's a beautiful temperature for them. They'd still be hunting. We had a question yesterday whether leopard hunt during the day, and it was a really good question because most people probably think that leopard just hunt during the night or the cooler parts, what we call it's a crepuscular behaviour, and that word basically means more active at dawn and dusk and keeping out of the heat of the day. But the way that I answered the question was that, you know, we can read all the books and we can learn all about the animals, but you will always see behaviour contrary to that, and animals will do what they want to do when they need to do it, and sometimes you see leopard hunting during the day, particularly if it's much cooler, and depending on how hungry the animal is, it will potentially contradict that all that information that's written in the books. So I just want to move down here. We're going to head along this road. It's quite a sandy road, and that road is definitely a great road to see tracks of leopard. So I hope you're all well. It's great to have you on board. Pete's going to be out looking around another area, and we'll cross to him shortly. But I just want to take you down. You'll know that once you're on a leopard's tracks, or you've got that leopard sort of want or need in your system, everything else we know are going to be around. We're going to have impala, we're going to have all our herbivores, our hoofed animals, but you sort of eliminate that situation by saying, look, let's look for leopard now, we'll try and find the tracks, and if we get them, brilliant, and we can sort of do a bit of investigation there and then come back to our herbivores. It definitely feels like there could be a little bit of rain in the air. We've got everything crossed that it doesn't, but if it does, that's life. We are in the African bush and the rains are on their way. Many of the species of herbivores, or another word that it's going to take a little, might go a little bit further down. So please don't think I'm not talking to you and looking around. I'm just looking at the road as well to see if there are any tracks, and Brian will also keep his eyes out for us for tracks either crossing the road or walking down the road. A lot of the hoofed animals, another word for hoofed animals that you might hear us refer to is ungulates. It's spelled ungulates. Ungulates. It's a great word, and it's basically a word that encapsulates the whole hoofed animal is carry on. And I just want to say good morning to you all, and too. If I see any tracks, I'll definitely come back to you, and maybe we'll just cross over to Pete and see how he's going. I'll see you real soon.
In fact, let's have a little look that way. We've got some pretty dramatic skylines, big clouds building up. I was going to say ominously, but it's not really. I always like it when there's rain on the way. It's not the best always for our vehicles, but from a bush point of view, from a wildlife and nature point of view, rain is a fantastic thing. So beautiful skies. I don't think it's going to rain. It shouldn't bother us this morning, maybe later today in fact. It looks like it might build up, but stunning morning. My name is Pieter. VM is behind the camera. VM, nice to be out here with you as well. Will back in control, Graham there as well. And then of course everyone else joining us, many of you old friends. I know I haven't had much time to say hello from a sort of a friend point of view yet, but lovely to have in the vehicle. And then of course very excited to have everyone that's maybe for the first time or the second time only with us. We'll talk more about what we're doing, how we're doing it, but mostly we're doing this because it's fun. We're on safari. Going on safari is one of the most exciting destinations. We were talking this morning about places one can go in the world, and to come here to Sabi Sands or to Africa, anywhere where you've got such magnificent wildlife like we still have here is such a pleasure. So it is a big pleasure for me and a privilege for me to take you around. We're going to start a little bit here. HT is just on that side of quarantine, this area that we call quarantine, and we are looking for leopard. Last night at the end of the drive we had incredibly fresh tracks, so much so that I still can't believe we didn't find the cat. We must have been driving around it like this. So we can have a look around a little bit. A young male that is looking for food. He hasn't eaten for a couple of days now, so just want to see if we can pick up anything. After that I'm going to head more west and go explore a new area. So I'm very excited about that, and as always, please come along and let's go have some fun. Keep your eyes open. There's a leopard here somewhere, guys. And as I said, for those of you that are new with us, if this is something you just bumped into or heard about from friends, we are live in the bush. This is happening right now as we speak. It's a bit windy. Sorry, we don't normally get that much wind here. You can hear the wind is picking up. It's all this weather. We are live and we are seeing things as they happen. So I don't know what's next. We could come around the corner and there's a leopard sitting there, or literally anything like that. But what's really great is we can also communicate with you and you with us. In other words, if you have a question or a comment or something you want to ask, maybe you know why do elephants have big ears, or why do zebras have spots and leopards have stripes, you know, that kind of thing. Just anything that maybe sounds odd to you, feel free to comment or ask. You can use the Twitter account #SafariLive, or you can email us at questions@wildearth.tv. Always nice to hear from you. And it's a weekday today. Yes, it's a weekday. If there's maybe any schools going on drive with us, I know that sometimes school classes join us for a bit. It's very exciting for me when I know these young minds out there. I think all game rangers, Hayden and myself were talking yesterday, we all have a bit of a child in our hearts. So I really enjoy it when there's kids on the vehicle. I know that you've got a great fascination with nature and with the magic of it. So if you are out there, give me a shout, and maybe we can get a classroom in to ask a few questions. It'd be really cool, nice to maybe speak to a specific class and answer one or two questions for you as well. Let's go look around a little bit. Okay, I need to do one other thing, again, just to explain briefly. I'm just going to chat to the Game Drive channels. Those are the other vehicles out there also with their guests, and just want to see if they found something yet. So what we call an update, get the morning update, the newspaper. Well, that's more like listening to the news. The newspaper is actually here in front of us. This road is where you find the tracks and where you see some of the information from the night before. But if you listen to the news, that's this guy. Andrew again. Morning, Mfo, how are you? Yeah, I'm just on Western Gari now. I'm going to slowly head to Aretusa. Any updates yet? Okay, copy, thank you. Andrew just saying no, we had Muntle and Konzo last night at about 7 o'clock, very fresh, close to Ingaskaya, coming from Twin Dams roadside. I think it's at Mampimpa and Wadora quarantine. I'm just looking around quarantine a little bit now, nothing yet. And yeah, that's the only thing I know. Yeah, last night the same. We also checked and there were no hyenas there. So yeah, is there another kaya somewhere or is it just the one? Okay, thank you, Phil. All right, that's I was chatting with Andrew there from further to the east. Good friend as well, I've known him for years, and he's saying it's pretty quiet. He's looked around the Treehouse Dam area, so now we know that there has been a vehicle out that side. Also with these vehicles, they work with a guide and a tracker, so the guys have got, it's actually something to believe, or to see to believe. They're very, very good tracking skills in this area. You know, many of them built up over generations and literally learned from their fathers and their grandparents. So they've checked that area. Now, it doesn't mean that there's nothing there, but it means that if there was anything fresh, any tracks, you know, they'd at least know that, listen, there was a leopard last night. They've also checked the hyena den. We've got this beautiful, beautiful hyena den here, and they have checked it, and he just said it's quiet at the moment. He's not sure why, but the tracks are there. So they are still around, but they, well, can't say I blame them. I wouldn't mind a little lie-in when it's nice and cool in summer, like this morning. So we're just going to have a little move around. I think I'm going to go up here Finns Road, up towards Zoe's Road, Impala Plains, and then we see what happens from there. Almost cool, huh? I mean, I could don't need a jacket, but it's almost nice and fresh, which is something to be cherished in the Lowveld this time of year. Going into November, December, it can get very hot. We've got a climate maybe similar to some parts of, I'm trying to think of which areas to compare it to, but it's not a tropical climate, but it's quite a humid, hot climate. So parts of South Carolina, I lived in Hilton Head Island for a little while. I wouldn't say quite that humid. That's probably the most humid place I've ever lived in. But like parts of sort of southeastern states maybe. So days like today when it's cool, overcast, fresh, you enjoy it, because tomorrow might be another hot one. I'm going to turn around a little bit, so I'm just listening to the game drives. We've got another vehicle, Ephraim, on that side as well. So I'm just going to do one more check across quarantine. I haven't seen any leopard tracks this side, so maybe it's just worth a while to just give it one more sort of casual drive through in that area, see if there's maybe any indications of something, and then we'll go straight west from there. Very important to know who's going where, you know, different vehicles, and sort of maximize your sort of grid if you want, so that you check various parts and then the guys start narrowing down. And that's also why the wildlife viewing is so phenomenal here, because they are found, and if you do find them, they're habituated. In other words, they're used to the vehicles, they know that we are not going to bother them or harass them, so you get this amazing natural behavior. Mixed up with my channels here. Trying to get everything on what everyone's saying. Let's take this little road. Just realizing now, sorry, all the things to think of. I forgot to say good morning to Alex. I said to him morning just before we left, but also want to welcome Alex in the vehicle. He's also there with Will in the director's seat, helping alongside. No, it's something that I can honestly say is such a pleasure when you're out in an area like this, and I can start it very, very close to everyone with us on the vehicle, and with that I mean the whole team of WildEarth, putting together what we're busy with at the moment, and obviously everyone out there, you guys taking part, and that includes also all the guides and the lodges, the whole sort of ensemble, if you want, of everyone out here. And that is, it's such a pleasure that everyone's positive. I think so many parts to life, people live in environments where they have to sort of struggle and compete and fight to get what they want, but out here there's a really nice feeling of everyone's here because they love this environment, and more specifically, our whole crew really love doing this. This is such an exciting thing to be able to be part of a project that is in many ways brand new, and in many ways sharing things in a brand new way. What I mean with that is that it's so far removed from what people used to consider as different things about wildlife on TV. This is an experience that's very exciting. So why I was thinking of this, I'm rambling a little bit, is that we've got people from different parts of the world as well, VM, Afrikaans speaking like myself, so we both English is a second language, or language that we learn later on. Got some people from England here, South African English, and I'm thinking of Alex specifically now. He's made a really cool decision, having been part of all other parts of life, and then he decided, you know, this is really what I want to do. I want to get into Africa and I want to get into the safari thing, and he made a decision and stuck with it and got himself out here. So I was just thinking of Alex a bit now, and how much he's into this. It's so nice to see that. It's so nice to share that with people. I have someone from America as well, so we've got a whole international bunch here. The same as for the morning drive or the sunrise drive. I know for many of you, especially in North America, Canada, America, it is late at night for you now, so get another cup of coffee if you want, or walk around a little bit. I'm hoping we're going to find something for you just now. We're looking around, and the beauty of this is you never know what could happen. I mean, literally any second, any minute, we could find that leopard, or we could find just maybe a beautiful bird that we don't often see, and that's the joy of this. The drive itself is lovely. I mean, just look at this. Big trees, beautiful views, and then you have that added excitement, or the additional excitement of, you know, anything can happen. You could be looking at nothing, and the next thing you could be looking at a leopard, split second later. And it's nice when people share enthusiasm for something as beautiful as, in this case, African nature. There's a kudu crossing the road, a little bit far away, antelope. In fact, I recognize this kudu. We saw this herd in this area. Polished, if you want, from again working with it, digging out things, breaking out things, stripping bark, that kind of thing. So that would be, for instance, one of the ways to recognize this guy. If we see him again, notch in the left tusk. He doesn't have a lot of ear markings. He's with a group that the female normally has a left sort of a V notch in the left ear. I think we're gonna, let's leave them a bit. Cheers, mister. We will see you again. We're gonna get to know this guy. If they stick around for the next few weeks, he's got the right sort of interest and aptitude to be a really nice elephant to get to know. He's curious about us, we're curious about him. That makes for a good relationship. Let's have a quick look at the youngsters. Sorry, I never like leaving elephants, because elephants, even more so than a lot of other animals, your sort of intimacy, almost the word I want to use, the closeness, the personal or the sensitivity of the experience you can have with them is often directly linked to the time you spend with them. So the more time you spend with them, the more they get to know you, to the point where eventually they even come up and have a little look at you and see what you're about. Although we sort of cut off from them. Just show you the youngster, a couple of years old. And we will see this guy again. But at the moment it's not the best viewing conditions. Let's look for them maybe on the way back this afternoon. They're sticking around. They'll probably go for a drink of water later at Gari Water, there in front of Wetela Lodge. I think we're going to head west. Nick de Jong used to always say, head west, young man, head west. West is best. Nick had about 1,000 sayings like that. He would also be... I'll tell you more stories about Nick another time. Alright. I'm going to let the game drivers know, so that if anyone else is looking for elephants, they know they can plan their sort of morning safari accordingly so that they can see these guys at some stage. Rough road, you know. All stations, just the update is right.
First, this area, welcome back. We found some tracks, but I know Pete was with elephants, so I wanted to leave you with him. They were fresh tracks, but we went into a couple of areas and just cannot find him. But at the same time, we're just sort of coming down to this area here now to see if we might have missed him coming across an area and coming down to some of his favourite spots. The temperature is definitely warming up. The sun is starting to break through the clouds, so he'll be potentially still active, depending on what happened last night. And if he is around, we are definitely going to try and find him. We'll just come down to this lovely little sort of riverine area here, or what we call a drainage line, which is like a dry riverbed. I say that many times just to explain to you, because when we refer to it as a drainage line, it doesn't really make any sense to you if you don't know what we're talking about. So it's basically a dry riverbed. And this is sort of beautiful leopard territory through here. Cool, lots of sort of shadows now. And just trying to keep our eyes out. Now, of course, we're looking for many other things other than leopard. Anything that we come across we'll always stop and have a look at. But I just want to utilise this coolest part of the morning to try and find them. And then we'll start to go to some regular little spots where we know they may use to get out of the heat of the morning. It's great to have you on board. This is one of the most fantastic opportunities for a lot of our team to be able to bring this to you live. All of our team work really hard to get this out to you live from South Africa, and it is a huge buzz for us to be taking you on our vehicle this morning on a live safari. Whilst I'm here, I'm just going to shoot across to this little spot where we know the hyena den. Hyena den here, a mother and a sub-adult and a cub, a youngster, and we're just going to pop in and see if they're here. It's like visiting friends, except we didn't call and let them know we were coming. Rather bold of us, but anyway, I think they'll understand. I keep saying to you, a really important thing to know about this area, the Djuma and Arathusa game reserves and the whole of Sabi Sands. The animals here are very, very familiar with the vehicles, and they're familiar with us, and you'll see that in the behaviour of the animals day after day when you come on safari with us. They may or may not be in. Question from Larry in Florida about how do you tell the gender of hyena. Well, they are a little bit tricky because the females have very, very male-looking genitalia, and as well as the obvious, and it can be quite tricky to tell. But one of the things about it's easy when they're next to each other is that the females are quite a lot bigger, Larry. When I say a lot bigger, noticeably bigger than the males, and that's probably the most obvious way. And it is a little tricky, but when you see them next to each other, you can definitely tell from size. But the females do have that male-looking genitalia, and there's a lot of different theories about it. But one of the theories is that having that male-looking genitalia, they can be very, very dominant within the hyena pack, and the females rule the roost. That's for sure. Males are quite comical when you see them bowing to the females. They do this incredible behaviour of they would do anything to avoid aggression from females. It's definitely the females that rule the roost, and the female that's here is spectacular. She's a really, really big female, and then she's got a sub-adult with her, and she's also got a little pup who is really cool. He's a very, very cute little baby pup. But they're not here this morning, and it is, well, they might be in their den. If you just have a look over at the den there, we sort of talk about it each time we come. It's quite a picturesque den, beautiful shady tree above it there, and those entrance holes that have been excavated by the hyena. But the original excavation was by an animal called an aardvark, and you may and may not have seen one before. They're quite elusive. If we're lucky, we may see an aardvark on safari. That hole that you can see right there was originally dug by an aardvark. Now, they are a hoofed animal as well. Aardvark directly translates as earth pig, and they're not really related to a pig, that's for sure, very, very distantly, but they are a termite-eating hoofed animal. They're an extraordinary creature to see, nocturnal, very elusive, but we might bump into them at the end of our sunset drives. And what they would have done is use this termite mound to build a burrow, and then the great thing about that is they then leave that, and then another animal will take it over, potentially a warthog, or maybe just straight to a hyena. Leopard have also been known to be holed up inside big aardvark holes, which, as I said, potentially were holes that were used by warthog or hyena before that. So they're not here at the moment, but we will always come back and see. They're beautiful creatures, absolutely fantastic, and have a very, very special place in the dynamics of the bush. They give lion and leopard a run for their money and keep them on their toes, that's for sure. And they really are great creatures. We're just going to move on and carry on down and look for some more leopard spoor and everything else that we bump into. When I do slow down like this, it's just because I've got a great big back of my toy truck here, which is a fantastic vehicle. It's taking us through the reserves. It's all decked out specially. It's custom built. We've got lights on it. We've got all our broadcasting equipment. It's a proper big toy with a bit of kick. So I'd love to take you down into this area now, and let's just have a poke around down there and see what we can find. We'll also stop at a couple of water holes, which are always a great thing to just have a little bit of a look at. There's a lot of areas that you're going to see this morning that have been burnt, and we touched on it yesterday. It's always a good thing just to discuss, because people might be watching and say, say, why does that area look like it's burnt and that area not? Well, there's a couple of management techniques that the rangers and all the land managers will use, and that's potentially to burn an area, what we call a controlled burn, and you can see it here quite obviously. There's a really good indicator. Green grass here. More established, older grasses over here in this section. But wildlife, it is an incredibly important thing. Grasses over on potentially not as palatable to a lot of the herbivores, to a lot of the grazers particularly. And what we'll do on a rotational basis is burn off an area. Sometimes we burn off, and as I said yesterday, that could be a lightning strike, and that does occur. But on a management scale, that will be burnt. You get a very, very good flush of grass there. I'm just looking at the aerial under these low-hanging trees here, and it's a really great bit of nutritious forage for the grazers, and they really do start to get into it. This is only about 2 years old, so going to turn around and head back up. I feel like I just got a feeling, a sense that I'm going a little bit away from the freshness of those tracks, because where Pete picked up those tracks last night was back up that way. I've just come back down this way to see if he might have made his way down, but it just doesn't feel right. So we're going to head back up, see what we can find. Sorry about the bumps. I'll just move up a bit closer, and you'll get a better look at. Just walking off from us a little bit, but I'll just try and go forward a little bit for you. That's a nyala, spelled N-Y-A-L-A, nyala. It's a beautiful antelope. We see them a lot. There's a lot of them around here. Great population, but there's lots of parts of Africa that I've been to where the nyala just completely run as quickly as you see them, they're gone. And that's just another great indicator of how relaxed these animals are. Those two boys are on a bit of a mission to go and have a bit of forage, I think. So we'll move on. Back to your question, Bev, and thank you for being patient. Your question was, when you're on self-drive, how do you and the answer to it's a lot of tracking and the habitat, particularly the habitat of the day. But your question was about you normally hyena putting pressure on this leopard consistently, trying to take the leopard's food, and he was succeeding because most leopards won't take on a hyena unless the mother has potentially got cubs and she would fiercely protect them, but still it can be quite a fatal situation for her or the cubs. So it's not always the way. If you see a hyena, there's going to be a leopard around, but when you do have a leopard on a kill, there will inevitably be hyena there very soon. So one of the reasons, as we've probably mentioned before, leopard have adapted to taking their kill up a tree, and it's a great mechanism for them to be able to have a feed or store their food without those those pesky hyenas taking my food. their prey or placing their kill up a tree or even resting? There is absolutely yes, absolutely yes. And what you do is it is a really difficult thing with leopard, because you're constantly scanning the ground for tracks. You're looking in these lovely little pockets where you think they might be resting up in the cool or potentially waiting for an ambush, and then you're also looking up in the trees. So you're down, middle and up, down, middle and up. There will be some trees, like this for example, there's shrubs in front of us that they wouldn't support a leopard, but then you'll look down a little bit further, we'll point out a couple of classic trees that are perfect leopard trees. And you know, you always look up in the trees when you can. As human beings, we can't scan every single thing, but you start to get a bit of a feel for the sort of a tree that a leopard would store its food up in. But really good question as well. You do have to try and take in the whole landscape, the whole habitat. But great question.
Back, we actually made our way back towards camp again, and I just heard something on the radio from one of the game drives literally seconds ago, so I just want to quickly radio them and see what it is. If it is what it is, it's something we might look at. So squirrel calling there. So let me just first find out what's going on there. That might be with our wow. Andrew again. Sorry. Jamfo, you ingwe tambutida. Welcome back, guys. So VM just had to jump off there quickly. We just had a quick technical check. Please, if you are new with us, maybe first or second time on the drive, I'd like to just remind you that we are doing tests. In other words, this is something that normally would happen, let's say, behind the scenes. But the way WildEarth like to do it is we share as much and as far as. So we just decided, you know what, rather than test things quietly and then coming and getting you out and drive with us live, let's just test live. So we're giving it a try while we're driving, while we're testing, and we thought that's exactly the spirit of things. We want to take you on a journey, we want to take you on an experience in Africa, on a safari, and for those of you that are keen, join us from the beginning and sort of grow with us at the moment. But it is the technical test phase, so there are a few glitches, this and that. You can imagine. Well, you don't have to imagine, but you can easily imagine that we are in the middle of the bush, and at the same time, you, wherever you might be, East Coast, West Coast, Europe, Namibia, South Africa, Australia. I wonder if you've got any other Australians with us other than HD. London, maybe you might be from. To share all of this real time is something quite amazing, I think. Then again, I'm getting quite grey, so it shows that I am sometimes still surprised by technology, but I'm really happily surprised by technology in this case. So to do that, there will be a few little glitches to work out. Mr. Murphy, he also loves being on safari, and he's decided the most exciting place for him to be on safari is with us. So we've got to, befriend him a little bit and get him to find a comfortable place in the vehicle where he can sit quietly and not bother us. So Mr. Murphy, welcome in the vehicle. You're welcome. Just sit back and relax with the rest of us and just enjoy the drive. Don't have to do anything. We'll take care of it. Just heading north now, let's see how it goes. black-headed oriole is a bird. We were talking about it lots yesterday. The bird that has sort of become the sort of first call option for most game rangers when they call each other in the bush. Or in town, but when they call each other. In the bush it works well because animals won't know that it's one person calling another. It'll just sound like a black-headed oriole calling. I always love it when we can make believers out of possibly non-believers. Not that you're a non-believer, Kendria. In fact, lovely name by the way, Kendria. Kendria's just saying she doesn't know if we answer questions on Twitter as well. Guys, we answer questions from both Twitter and the email, so if you do have a question or something to ask or mention, like Kendria just did, she wasn't sure if we're actually answering questions from Twitter. Yes, we do. And you can tweet us at Safari Live, so hashtag Safari Live, and you can email us at questions@wildearth.tv. Just for interest sake, and I'm just picking up the last few days with questions. Questions are lovely. It really is a very, very nice part of the drive, and it has a massive effect on the drive as well because it really steers the way we all have a conversation. One conversation leads to the next. This is a very normal principle for any conversation. So questions that are pertinent to what's going on, what we're looking at, what we're sharing, in other words, things that we're all thinking about. It's very nice because then it's a combined conversation, but also questions that are specific to things around us, things you hear, things you see. That's always lovely as well, showing that, you know, maybe highlighting something that we might have missed. And then for, I think, more often on the Twitter account, and it's not necessarily that you tell us. Okay, so it's not necessarily that you have to tell us where you're from. It's always nice to know where you're from, but I know where you're going. You're going to see some buffalo, so enjoy it with HD, and we'll see you just now.
This is the sort of thing I love coming across. Is a perfect little scene here at a water point. I just took a little left here off the road because I love this waterhole, and sure enough we've got 4 really beautiful male buffalo, a bachelor herd, and there's a zebra off in the distance there. We've got a bird of prey up there. I think it's a kite of some description. I can't quite see from here, but being harassed by some other birds. There's a lovely little scenario going on here. And these buffalo, I know I talk about buffalo a lot because I really like them. I think they're a fantastic species of animal, and they are so complex and incredibly social. I mention it all the time, but I do also want to help the buffalo's reputation a little bit. Yes, they are a formidable creature if you're on the ground as a human being. You've got to be very, very careful. And they are one of those creatures that just epitomizes the African bush. But they've got that reputation because they are a formidable adversary. They really do take on a lion or a lion pride with great courage, particularly when it comes to protecting their herd or each other. But when it comes to within the herd, they're very, very sociable. Very sociable creatures. What they're doing right now, they've just been down for a drink and they're ruminating, which is they're chewing their, what we call chewing their cud, and you've probably seen cows doing this, or potentially these animals in the wild yourselves, but they really do just take it pretty easy. These boys will look after themselves, protect themselves, but they still could be taken on by a lion pride. This boy at the front here is amazing. He's a huge male. You can see that center part of the horns there. It's called the boss, and it's a really protective structure there over their skull. But it's those horns are definitely a huge part of their life and protect them fiercely. You wouldn't want to get on the wrong end of that. I'm just going to stay back this distance because as soon as we go around this corner I need to go up over that dam wall. I don't really want to move them on. I want them to move off without us disturbing them. It's lovely to see the zebra in the background there, all coming down to that water point. Now these waterholes are obviously a place of fantastic action, and you see that, look at that buffalo as well. They just put their heads on each other. But the zebra, going back to the zebra, they're drinking there. There's always a couple of them looking out for potential danger. 1 minute it can be quiet and peaceful like this, and the next minute it could be a completely different scene with one of the large predators, particularly lion, coming down here and taking advantage of that situation. So I just had a question from Natalie in California about the buffalo's horns, and they do stay sharp naturally. They grow like that naturally, but the animals will bash them and brush them into shrubs and different vegetation as a display of sort of dominance, and also they've just got some really fantastic ways of displaying sort of their strength, and they do it quite often. That potentially could keep them in a particular condition, but to answer your question, Natalie, they do grow like that naturally. Now obviously the more, let's use the word beautiful, form they are, like this magnificent boy that's right in front of us staring at us, if he was to go into a few battles with other animals, they do break off. You do see a lot of animals with only one or the tips broken off, but these males are in prime condition. So Natalie, to answer your question, they do grow like that naturally. You can just see, if we can zoom in there, Brian, on that bull, he's got a couple of beautiful birds on his back there. He's got some red-billed oxpeckers just on his back there, and you can see them just creeping up his back. They're taking parasites off him. Some people refer to them as tick birds, and they will be picking the ticks off. They're more like bloodsuckers in a way. They go for the ticks because the ticks are full of blood, but if he had an open wound on him, sometimes the tick can not necessarily be a help to the animal, but would be more of a hindrance by keeping the wound open, unfortunately. So the buffalo and lots of other different species, see how he just crept along that animal there. Got a fantastic set of claws, these birds, and they got the ability to hang off the animal's skin and hair with these very, very fine claws, and they will take the parasites off. You'll start to see also another couple of birds. There's a small bird. It's very, very difficult to see from here, I think, but you might see him flitting around. It's a little black bird called a fork-tailed drongo, and he's a little flycatcher, as well as there's some starlings there, and they will be sort of congregating around the buffalo, because as the buffalo kick up grass or vegetation, they might unearth a little morsel for one of those birds, or send an invertebrate, a flying insect or something, into the air, and the birds will benefit from that. So everything fits in, everything works together, and all the animals that we're looking at have a special place in the habitat and the environment. They are taking their time, so we're just going to sit for a little bit longer. So just to finish my buffalo story, the reason why my friend and I, Marius, sat with those buffalo for an hour and a half, an hour and 3/4, is because those buffalo, those 200 or 300 buffalo that were with us, surrounded us on this termite mound, and they just started, and then they all started to lie down and rest and ruminate, chew their cud. So Marius and I looked at each other and went, we look like we're here to stay for a while, mate. And it was just beautiful. We sat there on this termite mound, watched these buffalo. They tolerated us. They were only as far as, you know, this vegetation away from us, just tolerating us. It was incredible. And then we had to make a move, so we sort of stood up, and a couple of them moved off, and we walked off. But incredible encounters. And I just wanted to say that's what buffalo are really like. They're very, very sociable, beautiful creatures to be around, but you've really got to have your wits about you, that's for sure. So I think my friends have stood in the shade here. So we just had a tweet, thank you Anne, on Twitter. That's really interesting you said that. I was just about to say how you spelt boss before, and I thought, will I say that? And I thought, yeah, I'll say that. And then the oxpeckers came onto, and I digressed. But it's a really great question. It is actually as you spell it, B-O-S-S. It's the boss on the front of the animal's horns there. So great question. But that was from Anne. Gave us a great tweet there. And everyone else, we're going to scoot up this road here because I don't want to disturb these bachelors. They look like they've had a hard night, probably protecting themselves or looking after each other. They're having had a drink. Our zebras are just there as well. We're going to scoot up this road here and just let them be. So let's see what else we can find. Thank you, gentlemen. Look at him, he's great. Just one more look at him. That's a great shot of the boss and those beautiful horns there. Nice. And so these are what we call bachelors, and just a little bit more on the buffalo before we move off is that the reason why they're there is either that they've reached their prime or they've been ousted from the herd, and sometimes they form these bachelor groups, and they might stay in those groups for a prolonged period, or they might split off, and they form all different numbers. The buffalo, you can have a solitary bull, you can have two older bulls that just stay together for quite a long time, and then you can have these bachelor herds. Yesterday I saw a group of about 15, but that might have been subgroups meeting up and splitting off, but they're normally in about 3s, 4s, up to 6, and they'll look after each other. He's a big boy. There's a bit of a bump here. We're coming across the road, so just hold on. to remember also about the vegetation is some species of trees and shrubs and grasses like more sandy soil, and others prefer less sandy soil, so you'll get different vegetation. We're climbing up into quite a sandy area here, so the vegetation's a little bit more sand tolerant. And then down by that drainage line or that dry riverbed, you'll get the more water, the need of water. These ones up here are a little bit more resilient, and they'll have modifications to their leaves, either really tiny leaves, very, very hardy, glossy leaves in the real hot parts or dry parts of the year. Loads of the trees are deciduous in this part of the world, and this is a very, very different picture in winter. This is going to be very grey through here, hardly any foliage, only a few different species. Lots of bumps through here, guys. I do apologise. Just hold on. Just going over some tree roots. Pretty cool. It's about 21 degrees, about 70 Fahrenheit, and you will still get active predators at this time, but they were starting to slow down. Now, I'm not sure what I just saw there. Let's go drive up a little bit further. It's always good to look up in the sky as well, because the signs of an animal on a kill, as prey or vultures, will be circling. And I just thought I saw a vulture, but I didn't. Sorry, I'm looking back, everyone. I'm just looking at a bird of prey, and it's very difficult to... Oh, he might come over now. Is now a land here? He's coming over our head now. Right. It's just a blood. Really hard to tell from it. So I'm just going to explore this area a little.
Welcome back this side. Sure you enjoy those buffalo and a bit of bird life. It's always nice to enjoy the small things as well. I'm just going to stop here for a minute or two. Just had a lovely bird fly away, but if you look in that area, just on that termite mound, yeah, there's the first head popping out. Right in there. See, there we go. That's a dwarf mongoose, or in this case mongooses, not mongoose. Well, you can actually say mongai if you want, but I've never been that big on Latin. I don't really see my Latin speaking friends too often anymore. That's a youngster as well. So if you look at the two, the one on the left's an adult, the one on the right's a youngster. And yesterday we had a lovely experience with the hornbill and the mongooses, but it was a bit overcast and they didn't leave the burrow area. Now there's a bird that's doing exactly the same thing with these guys, following them around. But you can't see the bird now, it's behind the trees there. If we see it just now, I'll show it to you. It's a beautiful bird called a long-tailed shrike. Black bird with these bright white markings on the wing. And it's the long-tailed shrikes that you can hear calling, that sort of almost like a strange whistling sound. A lot of animals, and especially these little guys, they tend to be almost more alert or more aware when it's windy. We've got a bit more windier than is typical for this area. And what happens when it's windy, they can get bothered easier or surprised easier because the wind hides a lot of sound and also makes the grass and the leaves and the twigs and everything move around them. If you look around this bird, you can see all the leaves are sort of rustling in the wind and moving a little bit. That can make it sometimes slightly harder for the little guys to spot potential predators that might be approaching. They can't hear them as easily, even can't see them that easily. Like most bird calls, beautiful sound. And of course, when I wanted to talk about the shrike now, it jumps away. But they are social birds. Your long-tailed shrikes, they live in groups similar to mongooses. And these guys, again, they will probably know each other. Long-tailed shrikes aren't as specifically territorial or as localized as your yellow-billed hornbills would be. What I mean with that is the yellow-billed hornbill would actually know one or two groups of mongooses and they would work together quite often. The shrikes would probably work a much wider area. But still there would be that relationship, that cooperation, if you want, between the two species. We were discussing yesterday the different symbiotic relationships. This is a relationship where both species are benefiting. They're not reliant on it, but they do both benefit from it. Okay, let's move along a little bit. I'm busy doing one of my favorite things in the whole world again, and that is driving a road I've never driven before. I've never driven on this road. I've never seen this area. I've never seen those dead trees. And I've always just loved that. So I'm exploring a new area. We're on Arethusa now, which is to the west of Waiatela and Gari that we were on earlier. And even though I know the area, I don't know the localized area. So new tracks to explore, new areas to see. This is a lovely place. We're still going to see something beautiful here. It's a nice open plain, bit of a clearing, nice for cheetah, but also good for leopard, good for lion, but actually just really good for good viewing. You know, it's just easier to see things when it's an open area. So we can explore a little network of roads here. I was just looking at the map. The best way to get to know these roads, people often ask us, how did you get lost? Now, obviously, if you've worked in an area for a year or 2 or 3 or 10, then you know the roads just like you know your own neighborhood. But if you're into a new area, the best way to do it is just to drive the roads, familiarize yourself with it, get some landmarks, you know, big trees or funny termite mounds or anything that can help you recognize the spot. And that's what we're going to do. This is a little spot called Knobthorn Pan up ahead, and there's quite a few roads around it, so I'm going to drive back and for the next sort of 4 little shortcuts use this as the reference point. So we go down, around, another road comes back out, and we do the same again and then work it wider from that. So explore with me. There hasn't been too many game drive vehicles driving in this area yet, so there's a good chance that we might find something that has not been found earlier today. And that's what the pan looks like. Let me just stop here for you. Now this pan at the moment is nothing more than a little bit of green grass and some dried mud. not a very big pan. But come rain season, or once the rains really come, this will fill up nicely and it'll be a very popular drinking spot for especially smaller animals, small or medium animals. What I mean with that is not so much for elephants and buffalo herds and so forth, but it's also a very popular spot for mud wallowing. Buffalo, warthogs, rhino, those kind of animals, they come and roll in the mud. But it's really hot. I mean, today we're very fortunate, it's nice and cool now, but when it's proper hot, when it's uncomfortably hot, then those animals love to come and wallow in the mud. Cools them down. There's also other benefits. It also helps them to rid themselves of parasites. So if they've got ticks and things, fleas sitting on their skin, they go roll in that nice sticky mud, cakes up on them, and then later they go against a tree and they go rub and they have a little scratch and clean themselves against it. And then in that process they're also getting rid of the exoparasites, or the external parasites, and they also make the pan bigger. So it's a little bit of a process again. So you've got a warthog coming down, little Pumbaa, he has a wallow and he runs off, and he's probably carrying 300 or 400 or 500 grams of mud with him. A big rhino or a big buffalo, they could go there and have a wallow and carry off 5 or 10 kilograms of mud. And you do that over and over and over the years, you have a little hollow that starts developing. The bigger the hollow, the more water they collect, the more often animals will wallow there. So it's a continuous sort of changing or evolving habitat, these little pans. Interesting question. This one coming in from Montana, and what a lovely area. It's one of the places I saw small parts of it, but I traveled in the States. Montana was one of the places I wanted to become a cowboy. I wanted to go wrangle cattle for a while, and didn't quite make it to that in the end. But beautiful area. And Peggy is just asking if we could find eland. Hello Peggy, nice to have us here from Montana. It's been a while since I heard anything from anyone in that area. And Peggy, well, technically we could. In this area, it's one large or one vast wilderness, ecologically open with Kruger National Parks and other small reserves, other private reserves around the outsides as well. And in that ecological area, you do find eland. So if there was severe drought conditions or changes within that larger habitat, you might well find that you could see eland here. It's not impossible, but not likely. Eland, they like the slightly drier habitat, so if you go further north into Kruger, towards Fafuri and so on, you can get them. So it's not likely you'll see them. It's not really their type of habitat. A little bit wetter down here, a bit more rain, so things like wildebeest and buffalo and so forth sort of fill those niches better. But beautiful antelope, and not an antelope that people always know about, so I'm wondering why Peggy knows about eland. Eland, just for interest sake, for those of you that don't know, they are in the same group, if you want, as kudu, but they are the largest of all the antelopes. Big eland bull can weigh the same as a big cattle bull, or a big, I was going to say a cow bull. That would be funny. Although in the States that would make sense. I'm sure, Peggy, if I said a cow bull in Montana, you'd have a laugh with me, because I know that the general sort of reference to cattle is cows. But like a Brahman bull, let's put a sort of a type of cattle to it. A big eland bull can weigh a ton, even a bit more than that. A ton is 1,000 kilograms. That's 2,200 pounds. So very, very large antelope, and the largest of all the antelope. Yet very athletic, a bit like Brahman cattle as well. I've seen eland jump over game fences. That's 2.2 meters of fence, and they just jump over it like that, weighing about as much as this car. It's crazy if you think about it. Insane to see as well, I must say. I've watched kudu and eland, and you see these things really do these amazing jumps, and you literally stand there and it's like, it doesn't make sense what you just saw. It's like looking at a big A380 Airbus taking off. You understand that they can, but when you see it happen, it still boggles the mind a little bit. Okay, just looking at the road. Yeah, we're the first vehicle to drive here, actually since maybe 2 days ago, but certainly since yesterday afternoon. I can see some hippo tracks here. Let's see if I can. Okay, it wasn't. Sorry, it's not very clear ones. I'd show you one, but I can see it's hippo, but it's not like a perfect print. It's nice to talk about. But some dung there, and also the tracks from last night. Duiker, smaller antelope that are very active around night time. Yeah, we're back at Knopthorne Pan again, so this is part of our orientation. So we've done this little loop. Now we're going to go around. This is one of the old road marks, or not road marks, one of the old things that used to be part of Knopthorne Pan area, and they've kept it as that. Guys sometimes get together, all the game rangers from the area. They'll get together when it's not so busy and make a fire and catch up a little bit, talk a bit of nonsense, have a bit of a social life. Social life is a very interesting aspect if you live out in the middle of the bush. So nice little spot to meet. So now we're doing the other little loop. So Knopthorne Pan, often these sort of especially water type points will have a good road network around it, because water obviously attracts wildlife, and then you can follow them quite easily without having to necessarily go off the roads to follow. When you do things that you love, there's great, now I can't find the right word. Satisfaction is part of the word, but there's great contentment found in it, and great looking for something a bit more than that, but you know what I mean. And doing this, sorry, Natalie was just asking actually. Natalie, hello. Natalie's from California. I wonder where in California actually, because I've been to parts of California, loved it. West Coast is very, very different to the East Coast, but really liked parts of it. And Natalie's asking why I became a game ranger. Why did I start doing this? And there's actually a lot of separate parts to that answer, or to that question. A lot of answers to that question. Let's get through this little dip. We're in a drainage line here. Natalie, I'm not going to answer you the long answer, because that will take maybe until the end of tomorrow's drives. But I'll give you like the short to medium answer, and that is that I was very, very fortunate to have a lot of exposure to this kind of stuff as a youngster. Let's just have a look here quickly. Interesting area. There's still water. Always good to know where there's water. And this is an old quarry area, so they would have long ago taken out some gravel. You can see some of the old banks on that side, maybe to fix some of the roads or so on. But that then obviously makes a natural water hole. It's also been walled on the one side, so it is actually a planned dam. And not much water left. Even though we are in summer, it is the end of the dry season. So all your water reservoirs or dams or pans are either dry or down to the last little bits of it. So I'm certain we'll be back here again a few times. A couple of nice big trees around the edges. Nice. Oh, what's that? You see? Water holes. Look up there. This would be one of the many reasons why I love being a game ranger, Natalie. Is you can drive around, beautiful environment, hear the birds call, just be relaxed, and the next thing, you see an elephant. Well, let's just sit a little bit. I don't want to go to them. I think they are on their way to the water. Let's find a nice view spot here. And we can talk a little bit. I'll tell you a little thing about myself, one or two things about game ranging, and just give these elephants I was going to say some time. I don't think it's going to be much time. They look like they're thirsty, so they're coming straight down. But before I continue, I just want to quickly let the guys know so that they know there's something for them to look at. Station Arethusa, that copy, guys. Just update. It's a dam here, if I've got it right, at Pan to Pan and Knobthorne Road Junction, just north of Knobthorne Pan, where you split through that Skovanin. It's a bit of Marty left here and then sort of old Gwaripit Dam. And looks like Small Slummy and Lorf slowly making their way to the Marty. Oh, is this one Red Dam? Yes, that would be the one. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is Red Dam. So I was just looking at the map and it looked to me like there should be another dam further up the road. But that's the value of local knowledge, getting some nice help there from the other guides as well. It's really nice when all the guys that are the specialists of this area are on board with us to help us. So while we're waiting for these Ellies, they're going to take their time to come down. I don't think they've had a drink yet. They are looking like they're moving this way rather than away. I also don't see their tracks around the edge of the water. So Natalie, I was very lucky as a youngster, and I mean real youngster, small boy, 1 year old, 2 year old, to start going out into the bush with my father for camping. As a family as well, my mum didn't like the camping so much, but she went with as well sometimes. But my dad's always loved the exploration of wilderness areas. And in fact, my love for Kruger, for the Lowveld, stems from that as well. My father was born and grew up not very far from here in Tsanin, Letseteli. Beautiful stories from back from their childhood days when the Lowveld was still wild in all respects. The whole Lowveld used to be very, very wild. And so when you see these things and experience these things from a very young age, even from before I can remember, it has a very big impact on you. In fact, one of my first wildlife memories was from a very young age. I don't know exactly, my dad's told me, I forget, but around about 3 years old or something like that, camping in the northeastern parts of Namibia and looking at a lion coming down to a pan there in the area of Bushmanland. HT has spent some time there as well. He'll know that area well. Beautiful, beautiful area. And then just going into wilderness areas, going on camping trips where we go for 10 days, 2 weeks, where you don't see another town or even a village, and you take your own water, your own food, your own everything, and you truly explore, as well as reading. I've read so many books on African exploration, and there's a great romance to it, but in the reality, in the doing of it, there's a great adventure and a great sense of personal freedom and excitement when you do things like this. So those all played a role, and then there was a bit of accidental aspect to it as well, which we'll maybe get into another stage, but I had a really lucky opportunity to work and live in the Sabi Sands. Well, not really work, but live in the Sabi Sands. Again, my father played a role in it. He did a lot of medical services for a number of lodges in Sabi Sands. He took a project for a while. He's a doctor, and he did these medical services for a bunch of lodges in the south. And I lived there and met some friends and thought, well, I'll go guide for a year or two, you know. See some wildlife, watch some elephants. And then that year or two ended up being about 7-8 years, and then the WildEarth thing and this whole live experience and sharing it with people from around the world is something I'm still hugely excited about. Mixed it up with a few other things, but lots of things. The short answer would just be a great love and a great passion and a deep contentment and enjoyment that I get from being out here. And a beautiful way to share it is with guests, through photography, which is something I will still share with you guys over the next while. It is just such a beautiful, positive thing to do and to be part of, that it's something that I would love to be part of the rest of my life to some extent or another. And then who doesn't like this? I mean, who would mind spending their morning with 2 elephants, 3 elephants, 4 elephants? I mean, this is the second group of elephants already today. I love being out in nature. I love feeling the wind and seeing the rain clouds approach and smelling it when the rain starts and hearing the thunder and feeling alive. It's it's just such a nice thing to do, such an exciting thing to be part of. So Natalie, if you ever come out here, if you haven't been, anyone else in the vehicle, if you've never been on safari, it's firstly very exciting to be able to show you and share with you what it's like. And I would love for it if you could sit down and just feel the wind and smell the smells as well. That's the only thing that's missing. We can see it and we can hear it. Look at these youngsters. There's a couple of young ones coming down. Now they're building up to coming down to the water. They'll be heading down shortly. And it's quite a steep bank actually, coming down from there down towards the water. It's very steep. Now elephants, obviously they are big animals, so running down steep angles is not always the easiest, and they can't walk down so easily. So you might see them sort of doing a little elephant trot coming down to the water. We're going to take our time. They're taking theirs, we'll take ours. Just enjoy the views, enjoy the sounds, and wait for them to come get their drink. If you can hear that in the background, it's a little bit far away and also with the wind, but there's two birds with a beautiful whistle. There you could hear one. Question from Jenny in Washington asking how long do elephants nurse their young. It's Kennick, I think, in Washington, and I'm not sure, Jenny, if it's Washington State or Washington DC. I presume from the name there, which I couldn't quite understand if it's Kennick or Kendrick, but I presume Washington State. They nurse their young. Let me remember. Guys, I'm having such a nice time. Oh, Kenwick. Okay, Kenwick. So I presume you're from Washington State. Now, what a lovely place. Jenny, so I'm smiling because as part of this sort of all the rehearsals, I'm sort of jogging my memory now and again. It's been a few years since I was here full time, and a lot of the statistics that I used to read I forgot. But it's about 2 years, probably 3 years. Basically, once the calf's born, they obviously in the beginning they reliant on nursing, on getting the milk from the mum, but you start seeing them play around with food from very young, obviously just out of curiosity. And yeah, by about 2.5 years probably they will be weaned. The mother normally starts just gently sort of encouraging them not to be bothering her until eventually sort of has to push them a little bit. It also depends on conditions to an extent. If there's lots of food, lots of water, then suckling the young for longer is not necessarily a problem. If it's elephants living in the desert, like you get some of those elephants up in Namibia, where I'm from, where I'm living now, it might be a little bit shorter because conditions can be harsh. So the youngsters would be encouraged to start being independent sooner. And again, depending on the conditions, sort of after about 2 or 3 years, the mother might be pregnant again. Keep in mind they've got a long gestation. Elephants have got a gestation of 22 months. It's almost 2 years that they carry the baby. Oh, this other one's going to come down just now, I think. One of these youngsters on the right. So that will also play a role. In other words, how quickly the female has to start getting ready to have the next young again. And that will also play a role in weaning the youngsters. She's talking to them. I don't know if you could hear that very low rumble. She's literally just calling them. You can see how they're coming over suddenly. So that would be the matriarch for this group, the oldest female. In your elephant societies, the males don't actually stay with any specific herds full time. Oh, they're going down the wall. I wonder why that is. I want to see if they're definitely going down or if they're just coming around. There's a footpath just here in front coming our way. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at them eating that fresh new leaves from a knobthorn. I'm just wondering, quite often you find a little bit of water below the walls as well as these waterholes. So we'll see, but I think they're going to come around. They might come right in front of us. We'll see where they go. That's a nice thing with elephants. They can't just disappear that easily. Although you'll be surprised as well how they can disappear. That's actually a lactating female. If you look very carefully, many people don't realize this, but elephants lactate from between the front legs. So 2 mammary glands between the legs. Oh, there she's moving now, but she was standing in a way that you could actually see it quite clearly, the swelling of it. So probably the younger of the 2 calves, or one of the 2 younger ones, would be hers. Now Sabi Sands, we've got good conditions here. Now, there's lots of food, lots of water. It's a happy place. If you're an elephant, you'd be happy enough if this is where you have to live. And from a youngster point of view, because there's lots of food, lots of water, you probably find that there's not so much pressure for them to wean the young. It's not like in Kohokeveld, for instance, where resources are very scarce, so they, the sooner the calves can look after themselves, the better. So you'd probably find that instead of the sort of early stages of 2 years or 2.5 years of weaning, it might be that 3 years, even 4 years old, or at 4 years old, the calf could still be suckling. But it's not necessary. From 2 or so onwards, they can survive on the natural.
She's interested at the moment. Now, I'm not sure whether she was up there. Up that tree, resting. But if she's resting, definitely getting hotter now. Look at that body shape. This is why I love these animals so much. She is just magnificent. Look at her. I'm sorry folks, I keep saying look at her, but it's just overwhelming to be here bringing this to you live, and you know, also to give a little lead to Pete, because Pete's such a passionate, wonderful. Oh, I can see what she's watching up there. She's watching a nyala. She's watching a nyala. There's a nyala bull up there and a nyala cow, and I think they are completely... Okay, we're going to cross to Pete because he's got a beautiful shot from the front there, and I'll come back to you soon.
There's so much excitement following this catch. It's absolutely beautiful. This is my first proper view of Karula. Sorry guys, welcome back this side. For a minute they lost track of which vehicle we're on. This is just so exciting for me to see Karula again. This is my first proper view of her in about 5 years. Awesome cat. Awesome cat. We will talk about her a lot, but her name, directly translated meaning peaceful, is one of the most apt names I've ever had or known for anything. I've actually got a dog called Karula. One of my dogs is called Karula, after this girl. Oh, and she is gorgeous. You can see that wow on her forehead. Now, when we get closer, I'll show you again. Yeah, she's certainly looking for something to eat. You can see the very alert posture. Ears looking around, searching for every sound. Eyes looking carefully. Oh. This is just absolutely stunning. Now, leopards have got lots of ways that you can recognize them or not. Looking at this one, if we get really close, we'll look at the face later and I'll show you those markings specifically. But she, and I'm just actually going from memory now, I haven't looked at pictures of her recently, but she has 3 dots either side of the whisker spots. Let me just see if that, should be able to actually see it on the pictures that I'm taking here. 3 dots either side above the whisker spots. That's the very traditional way of IDing her. But over the years we got to know that the easiest way to recognize Karula is that wow on the sort of there between the eyebrows. Also really excited. Zoomed out. Now, this is as close as we can get for now. I think she's going to move any minute, otherwise we'll go closer, but she's really very alert as to, look at that, the posture, the ears. She's listening around in general, but with a lot of intent in one direction. So I haven't seen anything there, but oh, I see it, I see it. I didn't see it earlier. Look here. You have to look all the way the other way, 180 degrees. We're going to stay right here. I don't even see them. I was so excited about this leopard. There's Nyala right here next to us. That's the one we're looking at. That's one of the females. There's another one even closer, only about 20 yards to our left, which means at the moment there's about 40 or 50 yards separating these guys. H, do you copy? Now, Nyala is one of the prey species for leopard. It's the right size, it's the perfect size. Thick area, keep in mind, Nyala are also very alert. They've got great eyesight, great hearing, great smell. The wind is good. Where I'm sitting now, I can feel the wind is coming from the side. It's not in any sort of towards or away from Karula, but it's blowing 90 degrees from the side, so the wind won't alert them. They won't smell her until she's there. And they are also feeding slowly in our direction. So this is a very, very interesting situation. I mean, this is, as I said, she's looking very alert. The reason she was looking around slightly is there's about 5 Nyala, so they spread out over an area. Unfortunately, we are exactly 180 degrees at the moment, so I'm not going to be looking at them too much, because when she moves now, it'll be like a flash. Or like a shadow, depending. She can move like a flash, but she will also just sleek away and just disappear into the underbrush here, because she has to get much closer. Nyalas, she will have to get within probably 8 or 10 yards from them. There we go, look at that, low posture, crouching down, shoulder blades going up, body going really low. Oh, this is, oh, imagine finding Karula the first time in so long and finding her while she's hunting. She's just behind this knobthorn base, she's stalking. I'm going to just turn a little bit, just get us off to the side a little bit, so we're on the sidewalls. Just getting HD into position there as well. We can have 2 different angles here. VM, I'm going to turn for you just now, but you have to be very ready. This could happen in split seconds. Do you copy? Look at it, there she is, Yep, right behind the logs. Standing by. Nyala hierso. East along Central. Oh, look at that. To see a leopard in that posture, that movement, suddenly you really get the sense of, we are talking about a super predator. This is not just a little kitty cat walking around. She's designed for this, she's built for this, she's evolved for this. Oh, sorry, I'm a little bit, not overwhelmed, but this is just any day, whenever you see this is so special. For me, there's a little bit of strong personal happiness here as well, just because I really have in my life, I can think back to about 4 or 5 different animals that have had major impact on me, that I shared time with to the point where they became real characters as much as close friends and family have, and this certainly is one of them. There she goes, popping up the head. Keep in mind, as I said, the wind is good. It's 90 degrees, slightly in favor of Karula actually. It's slightly more towards her than towards them if you want. And they're slowly moving along now. There's a bit of a clearing from where she's sitting now to where the Nyala are. There's a gap that'll be difficult to cross, but they could be moving slowly in her direction as well. So this is what life is all about. Anything can happen at any moment now. Yeah, I know you know this, but if it looks like she's going to go a little bit wider, because it'll happen so quick. And then just give her a bit of space towards where she's going to go. Visually, I mean. And at the same time, there's still a bit of a breeze, beautiful clouds, birds calling. Africa is just going about her business. Life as usual. There she goes. She's going to use this skirt, this clearing. That's a good call. Not that I have to say anything like it. Karula is an exceptionally good hunter as well. That's why she's raised so many successful litters of cubs. And out of her 8 cubs that she's had in her life, she's raised 7. That is an unbelievable statistic. I mean, leopard fatalities go into the 50-60%. So, well, so much I can tell you about this leopard. Turn a little bit. Okay everybody, well it's almost 9 o'clock, so we're gonna not say goodbye, obviously, because this is happening. This is, you can spend months out here and never get into this situation. So we're gonna be going on this morning, and we're gonna see where this ends, and also love to find her again this afternoon. So we're gonna stick with her until she settles down one way or another, maybe to eat. She's going again. The Nyala have moved slightly further into the thicket. I think for now we're just going to sit tight. We might not see much, but just want to keep us here off to the back. I might stick along the side here, but I'm just going to give a bit of wider space for now. It's quite thick in there. I don't mind moving around in the open here, but when it gets thick we're making quite a bit of noise. So again, the Nyala and the leopard are both used to it. They don't mind under through the brush. Oh, there we go. Now you can see how amazingly well those rosettes work to break the shape of the body, to really camouflage it perfectly. Basically, outlines really show out. So if you're standing and you've got a straight line, your whole contour, the whole outline of your body, you can be seen much more easily. Whereas the rosette markings, in many ways, well, in sort of totality, break that outline out or up, but also it resembles sort of dappled light. So they can really blend into different shadows and different light conditions. Now the other thing to really consider or understand maybe, that for Karula, she's got literally all the time in the world. It's not that she has to be at a meeting later or make an appointment or anything like that. She has got certain things she must do. A very important part of that is to get food. Now if she was impatient and squandered this opportunity, it might take another hour or 2 hours or day or 2 days before she gets an opportunity this good again. So she could take 5 minutes at this, she could take 2 seconds and suddenly she's away and it happens, or she could take 2 hours. There she goes again. Guys, and then just to keep you with what's going on, I am really excited that Hayden's sharing us as well. He's just got a small vehicle problem which is due to all this terrain, and we can't fix it right now because the leopard is so close. We have to get out for that. So he's just going to stay back, but what an amazing thing. It's really exciting to share this as well with him. Karula is literally called the Queen of Djuma. So what a first sighting of her for this, how shall I say, for this time with Big Cat Week as well. She's just such a special character. I don't want to go into that area much, so we're going to try and keep a visual on her. I can't see her at all now. That she's in, but keep in mind her first and foremost prerogative at the moment is to not be seen, not be spotted by those nyalas. So she's making sure that she's keeping herself low and tucked away in the bush. Just an elephant trumper somewhere in the distance, far from here, but somewhere out there. As if everything, life is going on. Elephants trumpeting, maybe 2 young bulls playing. Let's see, maybe there's just a sort of open area here. Maybe we can just poke our nose and then just see if we can find her. You got her? Oh, there she goes, there she goes. Low down. Well spotted, VM. Eagle eyes on the back. I'm not going to see much more from here because all this up front is very thick now. I think at best we can poke our nose into that clearing and then have a look from there again. get in here, and then I don't know, from there we'll have a look. I can see a tail, I can see the nyala as well. They're just up front there from her. Oh, but I think they might have seen her. Look at her. Her posture has totally changed. See, the tail tip is up, so she's showing them as well that she's has been seen, and they can hear the alarm calls. Now with lion, they would just immediately stop now. Leopard sometimes, they can be wily characters. She'll walk away as if nothing's happening, maybe drop down again and try again, but from the way she's moving, I think she's decided that's enough. Yep, she's continuing on again. Let's just... Yeah, I think she's... Oh, can't go in there. It's very, very thick. I can just see the white, that little tail tip. A leopard's tail really is... It's so many things, and in some ways, I was talking to HT the other day. They touch with it. When they greet each other, they rub their tails and sort of drag their tails around. But it also communicates a lot of information. That little white tip, it can show excitement. If leopards are following, maybe cubs following their mum, the tail starts to twitch, shows excitement. In this case, when she lifted that tail up, it's very flamboyant, just sort of curls it up, white flash, tells the nyala that, I don't care that you've seen me, I'm just walking along, I'm not doing anything, I don't mind at all. And from what I could see through the brush, I couldn't see her at all, I could just see that little white tail tip walking through. So she's walking, by the looks of it, I can sort of say that, where are we now? Through that area. The nyalas are over that way, about 50, 60 yards. You can hear the birds calling now as well. Suddenly there's babblers and cisticulas all announcing that there's a leopard around. In fact, I wonder if that's not maybe what gave her away at first. Maybe one of those birds suddenly making an alarm call. Have to look at it this way. Good day for the nyala. There was a little baby nyala in there. It literally looked like Bambi. My daughter is 3 now, so I see Bambi often. I know what Bambi looks like. And nyala look like that. They've got the spots and the stripes. And there's a young baby in there, maybe 3 months old. So for the nyala, this is a good day. For Karula, she doesn't mind. There's going to be lots of other opportunities. She's going to move around. Guys, and for us, this is amazing. Personally, Karula, for every one of you that have seen her before, I'm sure you're over the world, over the moon, over both, over everything. For those of you for the first time with us, this really is what this is about. Everything, the wind and the flowers, but the real magic is when you spend this intimate, exciting time with things like leopard or lion. And yeah, not more to say about that. Not more for now, put it that way. This afternoon, good chance we can find her again. I think she was heading sort of in Gari Dam direction. Maybe she got sidetracked by something. This afternoon, I can promise you, we're going to be out here looking for her, myself and Hayden. Maybe Gary Woodall, maybe move up to Buffelshoek. She is moving around a lot. It would also be really interesting if she was to meet up with one of her boys, with Kayuma or with Quarantine that we saw the other day, because they're at that age where they are moving away from her, but they would still interact sometimes, and that would be absolutely beautiful for me to see. And I'm sure you'd enjoy it as well. So for now, I think we're not going to see her. We're not going to go further into that. We're going to leave her. We're going to remember the area. We're going to look for her this afternoon in the same area. I'm going to say goodbye. From myself, Pieter, and from VM, and also from HT and Brian on the other side. They've had an amazing time as well. We're going to quickly help them out. She's moved away far enough that we can get the vehicle out there now. And also, guys, back in control. I know you're very happy, Will and Alex Graham. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing morning, and most importantly, for you for joining us on safari. It is really what this is about. If you weren't here, we wouldn't be. So thank you very much for sharing this with us. And we'll see you this afternoon at, now let's do the math, 4 o'clock, so that's